We had both of our mothers there.
Awesome.
So we didn't get to teach very much.
They taught us.
Marnie had a similar experience.
Yeah, it was really kind of interesting. Like both of our, which it was really good that our moms were there because they actually got other people to talk, like, and they got the rest of the group talking. But then once everyone else was talking, they continued talking a lot, and so
yeah,
most everyone gave us pretty good feedback, and like they're like, yeah, this was
pretty
great.
good, really good feedback. We got like
3s and 4s on our scale.
We had a 5-point scale, and it was like some of them were 4s and 5s. We only had a few 3s.
Yeah. But then, like, one person was like, it was really hard to get the connecting points because there were so many other people talking. And you could tell that you guys had actually had a transition, but we never got to the transition because you guys had to move on because of time.
And that we had a few non-members there, and
That's awesome.
They each said, we wish we were there to hear from you because you guys were the family life educators, but we heard more from everyone else, and we felt really bad about that. They were like, we wish they would have let you teach, but they wouldn't. They kept interrupting you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so hard.
I did have someone make a comment, or 2 people. I had 45 people come, and I had 2 people make comments about, I wished, what'd they say? You would have involved us more, or let us talk more, or something like that. And I thought, you know what? I thought, this is not a Sunday school or young woman's lesson where you have a huge discussion. I mean, you do let them, and we had plenty of times that they made comments and that we asked questions. And, you know, of course, I got the opposite feedback as well. You did great interacting with us and asking questions. You know, I had more of those. But the thing of it is it's not like that. It is an educational class, and you can involve discussions to a certain point. But like those people made comments about, they come to hear you and what you have to teach them. So, yeah.
That's awesome that you had so many people. We're hoping that we have our next one is that big. This one, we had about 15.
That's great.
Yeah, it wasn't horrible. We thought we'd have a lot more, but we realized it was a Friday night, which is kind of a crappy night to do it. So. And
we'd originally planned to get babysitters, and then that didn't work out, and so
that's a lot of the reason why our friends didn't come.
So like people that have kids, they can't come.
Yeah.
Like because they didn't feel it was an appropriate thing. We're like, everyone's welcome. We can do with kids making noise. It's really okay, and they just didn't feel it was okay. So.
Yeah. Well, does your second workshop transition from your first, or is it like a totally different workshop?
It's based on the stress, so it's the same main topic, but it is a totally different workshop. We're talking about 3 totally different principles with a totally different lesson plan and slideshow. So everything that people saw in the first one, they won't get in the second one necessarily.
You know what I was thinking about? Do we have to do it that way? Maybe we could just reteach the same principles.
Other than our flyers and everything says, these are the principles we're teaching in the second workshop.
Oh, yeah,
so people are expecting different
workshops. Too late to change.
You could have done it that way because that's what Marnie and I did. But you guys went the extra mile and did it like long.
I want to do that same workshop that we did yesterday again because it was the most important one in my opinion because it was about positivity, negativity, self-talk, communication, like the things that if you don't talk about those things, nothing else will make sense about stress because those are the most important things, you know.
But all the people from your workshop, they're coming to your second one too as well, aren't they?
Most people are, like we had some friends that happened to be in town from Kentucky and they're not coming back for the second workshop, but most everyone that is able to said that they were coming back.
Yeah.
That was the feedback I got.
Good.
Yeah.
So what is your strategy to get your mothers? Maybe that's the thing. It should be in our case instructions. Don't invite your mom. But,
I was gonna bring duct tape.
Right.
Know, see how it goes.
Or donuts. Here.
Or donuts.
Here,
yeah.
Eat a donut
and put them right next to them.
You have to be careful. My mom's here today visiting.
Well, it's only our moms that do this.
Yeah, not everyone else's mom is like that.
Mine would
So-
too.
Okay, so what I finally did, like 3/4 of the way through my workshop, is I just stopped asking open-ended questions to the group. I would ask an individual or say, think about this. That way it was not just open for open feasting on whatever she wanted to talk about. And so I was able to kind of curtail her
Oh, there's my
dominating of the
dad.
whole.
Say hi to my
Hi,
dad.
Dad.
They're visiting from Idaho.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love that idea to say, so-and-so, how do you feel? But my mom is a little outspoken and she's been a teacher for a very long time. And so I feel like she would raise her hand and be like, I also feel blah, 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 and then move on to something else.
That was the real problem, is that it wasn't when we'd ask questions, it was any time. You know?
Oh.
And then when we would ask questions, actually they usually wouldn't chime in. It would be the people that didn't get a talk would answer the questions, and then we'd start talking again, and then our parents would jump in when there was no questions asked, when it was an appropriate time, you know.
Would they raise
So
their
would it be
hand or
appropriate-
just jump in?
Both.
Depending on the situation. If they didn't,
Could you ignore them if they raise their hand?
I did. Tammy didn't. I did. I said, okay, 1 minute, and then I just keep talking,
Good.
and then wouldn't go back to them.
Could you offer like some kind, loving advice and say, listen, last night was great. I appreciate your participation, but tonight, is there any way that you could help us by not commenting so much?
that would
I don't know that my mom.
that would be really awesome if we could, but I think both of our moms would like start crying and be like, I thought I was like
Yeah,
totally.
I think
I know, totally.
there's some mental instability that may not be able to cope with that type of criticism.
we love you and we want to be able to teach our whole workshop, so like
You
hate
me.
I'm so horrible. I just won't come then because I mess everything up.
I'm not coming next time.
We don't say that. We love you coming. We love you participating when we ask questions. The rest of the time.
That's so funny.
Especially-
I'm surprised my mom was there at your workshop. Sounds exactly like my mom.
Maybe we have the same parents and we just don't know.
God.
That's really funny. And I mean, we love our mother. It's funny because I just got off an hour-long phone call with my mom about some really, and if I brought sensitive things up now, she would die.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing about it is he was like, okay, Mom, like half an hour into the conversation, I've got to go. I've got to get ready for this meeting. And finally, like we had 4 minutes left and I started holding up my fingers. I'm like, 4, we're down to 2. And he's like, okay, I really have to go now. It was funny.
It was actually a therapy session, quite honestly. Yeah.
And did you tell her multiple times, I'm not a therapist, I'm just a family life educator?
I had to tell my mom that a couple of times during my workshop. Mom, I'm not a therapist. I don't understand your psych meds. I don't. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I can't help.
We probably should tell
Anyway.
Sister B to pop some popcorn and enjoy our show.
Yeah, seriously.
Exactly.
Funny.
It's comic relief hour.
Yeah. That's
Not
so
the
funny.
least of our parents. We love our parents.
Yes,
We love them.
and we're super glad they came. But it was really funny. Like neither of our dads really talked. I think my dad had like 2 comments the entire time, and our moms just had lots to say and lots to share.
Nobody else could talk. We couldn't talk. So, I mean, I understand.
Yeah, we ended up we ended up starting late, and so because we had 2 people there on time.
And we knew everybody was coming. They were, for some reason, everyone thought it was at 6:30 and not 6. So.
And so
Oh, no.
it was
Yeah.
okay. So we just started at 6:15, and we just prolonged our introduction a little bit and just talked for a bit. But then so it was supposed to be over at 8, and we're like, it's 8 o'clock now. We haven't gotten through about half of the lesson. What would you guys want to? We started late. Is it okay if we go like an extra 15 minutes? And most everyone said that was fine with them. And so they sat around. But even we had like 5 minutes left and still had like a third of our lesson to teach. And we're like, here's the important points. And if you have questions, just talk to us after.
So the way we had it set up is we had it for we had 30 minutes of positivity and negativity, 30 minutes of communication, and then 30 minutes of conflict resolution.
Then we had a 10-minute or a 5-minute introduction, 5-minute conclusion, and then 20 minutes of questions for people. And we didn't get to the questions.
We didn't get to conflict resolution. So we only got negativity and positive. Actually, the negative, so we did mindfulness, we did self-talk, and we did a bunch of stuff in the negative and positive realm. And that kind of monopolized most of our time. We realized, and we thought that it would, but
it should have been its own workshop.
Yeah, it could have been. It was, but those principles are so important, so it was okay to talk about. Actually, I mean, we make fun of our moms, but everything that was talked about was really reasonable, and it was actually really good principles. It's just we didn't have the time to discuss the things that we wanted to,
Yeah.
But everything, and most of what our parents said were relevant. It was.
But I think it was like Tammy was saying, where the people for some reason think that this is just going to be another Sunday school lesson, where we're all going to everyone's going to chime in and say whatever they want, and the teacher's going to have to lead them back to where the lesson actually is supposed to go. But it was interesting because his mom looks at me and she's like, praying? And I'm like, no, this isn't something that we're praying about. This is an education class. And she looked really confused by that at the beginning. But it was kind of interesting because I think they came into it with the mindset of this is another Sunday school class.
Mm-hmm. And we actually had non-members there. So it was we had to be careful, it wasn't something, and some of them, I think one of them is kind of anti, but not so much anymore, but she was. And so we had to be careful about the amount of doctrine that we taught. We were really cautious because she wouldn't have come if she knew that it was going to be doctrinal.
And this class isn't to teach.
It's
not one of our religion classes. So
yeah.
And I think sometimes that my mom thought she was helping too by filling the time, and I think they may have thought that we, in a 2-hour class, maybe we weren't going to have enough material to cover, and by them talking, it was helping us, in a church class where you welcome the participation because then it's not a long hour, but when really we have the material, we were prepared, and so it's hard when you have to start shaving out huge sections of your workshop to accommodate all the conversation. It makes it difficult. So
and I got to tell you, we really took what you guys said from the very first meeting that we had after you guys had your workshop. We changed our workshop after that.
Really?
Did you?
Yeah, we took out CBT
because you and Sister Buswell both said this is really hard to teach, and we're like, okay, we're not teaching that then.
Yeah, because we knew our audience, and we knew that would be way too difficult. If you guys had trouble teaching it, we knew that it would be impossible. And
that was smart.
So we changed it to the mindfulness, which is sort of DBT, but we're just going to leave it at mindfulness. We're not even going to go into how you can start thinking and change your thoughts based on this.
So we taught the basics of mindfulness, and didn't get into it that much.
We said, if you want more, you can look on the web for it. And this is a YouTube video, and we had them practice just a 3-minute mindfulness session.
And I think because of what you guys said and what Sister Buswell said, we realized that we had to break things down a lot better. So it made us be aware. And when we were explaining, we dumbed it down. I guess I hate that.
We put it in layman's terms.
Yeah, we put it in layman's terms. And so you guys really helped us to be, and I think that really helped because we explained everything to where there's no way you couldn't understand it.
Yeah, we actually had a part on our thing that said, what was the most confusing part? And everyone's like, there wasn't a confusing part. So
that's good.
Yeah, so.
Hold on. I'll be right back.
You're fine.
So
keep going.
How did your second meeting go, Tammy?
Yeah.
Really, really well. Well, first I just want to say that she made a comment about our last meeting we had. She's like, you guys jumped ahead and discussed case management. And we were like, what are you talking about? And so it's because we talked about our first workshop.
Yeah.
That she was like, that's for next week. And we didn't know what she was talking about until we looked to see what we were doing this week. But I'm glad that we were able to talk to you about it and that it helped you guys out in your workshops, because going back, I would totally eliminate CBT. And she even made that comment. She even said, yeah, it is kind of hard to teach. And it's even more difficult to teach with a big group.
Oh, I bet.
And
So
I
you still taught
offered,
it?
what?
You still taught it?
I did the second night. And because it was adult women, Marnie did hers differently. She did the adult women first and then the youth second. So she totally eliminated it the second night, if I remember right. The CBT. Didn't you not teach it to your young women, Marnie? And I wanted to teach it. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I eliminated it because I had trouble with the women the night before, and I was like, there's no way that the young girls are going to be able to grasp this concept. And I even had a hard time filling out our happiness, which I thought was pretty basic, but our happiness questionnaire took a little bit more time. That kind of swapped those two. And so, yeah, I was glad I eliminated it. I went through it and told them what it was and where to find more information on it, but I just left it at that.
Yeah, and see, since I was teaching the women my second night, I wanted to see the difference between the two. I wanted to see if the women could grasp it. And so they got the idea and they understood it. And even in both of the workshops, I said, you know, first I always said, I'm not a therapist, so I can't, you know, counsel you through whatever topic you bring up. But I said, I can help show you how to fill out the worksheet. And if you're interested, you know, come to me up afterwards. And I didn't have one person come up to me out of both workshops. So I just feel like, number one, people get the concept and the idea, which is what you could teach, and give them the tools to go research it themselves. But I wouldn't teach it anymore in a workshop.
Yeah, I think the cognitive distortions are really important when you can articulate where the feeling is coming from and like what the distortion is on the thought. I think that in itself is helpful, just to know what I'm thinking is not quite accurate according to the situation. And so, which is part of CBT. So that I think people really connected with the distortions, not so much understanding the process of changing
The distortion.
How much the percentage, you know, whatever.
Yeah, the distortion is really, I agree, it's really super important to understand, but I can understand how, because if someone had just given me the CBT, like the mood log and stuff, I would have been like, what is this and what am I supposed to do with it? Come up with something I believe more than this? I don't understand. So like I get why people can understand it, especially in a large group setting, like one-on-one. I can understand people using it, but otherwise it's
and I really feel that there's a reason why it's used in a therapy setting, because it's therapeutic, but you have to have, you almost need a therapist to go over it with you and to really work. I mean, because you could use that for one whole therapy session, you know?
Right. Well, and I feel that you can teach the concepts without actually teaching how to do the CBT. So this morning, there's a video floating around Facebook, and this morning I was getting ready, doing my makeup, curling my hair, and I thought, and I didn't do it just for you guys. I just have something to do after this. I love you, but I would come in a ponytail and my pajamas, but
like Kimmy.
yeah, I totally would be there. So, but there's this video that I watched, and it was this young mom, and she was talking about how she went through a divorce, had 2 young babies. And
I saw it last night.
You did? And how she was just feeling crappy as a mom. And she had this therapy session, went to it. It was free. Went to it. And the therapist was just sat and listened to her. She was explaining to him how bad of a mom she was. She used to cook nutritious, healthy meals. And now she cracks open a box of mac and cheese or whatever. And then while she goes and cries in the room because she's so depressed, she sits and lets her kids watch cartoons for hours. And so just things like that. And then the therapist, after he listened to her, he turned it around and he said, you're the best mom in the world. He's like, even though you're taking care of, or even though you're going through this hard spell, he goes, you're feeding your kids, you're making sure that they're taken care of. You don't want them to see that you're depressed, and so you set them in front of the TV and you handle your depression and crying in a room where they can't see you. You know, he's like, you're protecting them. And she said that he took every negative thing that she said about herself and turned it around to positive. And that's what CBT is all about. So you can, I think that we can teach it without actually going through the steps.
Which is funny you say that, because I think that's actually what we did. We taught, because we brought everything back to the mind, you know, and controlling your thoughts. And we basically taught the principles of CBT without getting too much in. We focused a lot on mindfulness, you know, but we literally brought everything back to the mind, saying that, you know, stress can, and we had a really cool quote that was about how stress doesn't come from your job, your work, your school.
Your boss.
It comes from the way you think about things.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really made it like your mind controls everything. So your mind is able to control your amount of stress level. If you practice mindfulness, you'll be able to reduce your stress. You know, so it's funny you say that. I didn't really recognize that we did that, but we did. You know,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I just sent you both of those videos that Tammy was talking about from that lady.
Yeah, we saw that.
They're awesome. Anyway.
So how did you guys' second sessions go then?
Much, much better.
It
I
did?
finished all of my stuff.
You start learning.
Yeah, mine went so much better. I had lots of participation, but I didn't have one person that dominated, and it was how I envisioned the first night going.
That's awesome.
It was much better, and I felt more comfortable.
That's what I loved about doing the same one twice, is because you can take what you didn't do the first night, or you forgot to do, or you wanted to change, you know, next time. You could do that like immediately after and do those things. And so then you could then again, to me, I looked at it like a process. And I think that each time we teach the same workshop, it gets better and better. And so being able to do it twice in a row, I think it got better the second night.
Yeah, I could totally see that happening with this workshop, but we get to do something totally different this next week.
We're what, 80% sure that we're gonna
end up teaching it somewhere else,
going throughout our stake.
Really?
Yeah, we're pretty sure that that's gonna happen.
That's great.
Why?
People just improve time.
Because everybody, like, so my dad's in the bishopric. We're close with the stake president, and they've all kind of encouraged us to be like, okay, be ready for this, because we're gonna use you, you know. So we feel like, because they know that that's what we're gonna be doing is. They know now that we're family life educators now, and so
That's cool.
They actually want to use us. And Sister Buswell, we talked to Sister Buswell for like an hour or so yesterday, because we had a lot of questions about
future stuff,
what we were going to do with our degree and stuff once we finish, and we didn't realize that you can get paid to do this stuff. You know, even by the church. The church could pay you to go teach, have family life sessions or family therapy sessions.
Did you watch her class meeting, her last one?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. It was really, really good. And I said, why? That sounded bad. I thought you meant that you had to teach at another location for your second workshop.
Oh.
When you said we have to teach it again, or teach it somewhere else, I was like, why do you have to do that?
No. Right.
I know why you have to teach it again somewhere else, because you guys are so good and you have a great workshop.
That's what it is. Yep.
I think it turned out pretty well.
Oh man, I think it was awesome. I just the dominating of the talk, but that's something we have to work on. It's right. We all experience it, so you know.
And I know enough people in the stake that I think if we went somewhere else to teach the same workshop, then someone's going to be that person that dominates the conversation. And so I think that's what.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we're going to have to learn how to be like, thank you for your comments. Now moving on to this.
Which surprisingly, Cammie is really good at. I'm the one that instigates the conversation because I like hearing what people have to say.
And he likes talking.
And I do, especially about about your thoughts. I am a huge believer in because okay, it's a long story. I'll make it really short. My ex, I was married before, and my ex-wife told me every day that she wasn't able to control her thoughts, and so I was married to her for 5 years, and she had mental health issues, so she just didn't believe that she could do it, and I knew she could. I know everyone can. And so it developed inside of me this deep-rooted feeling of, you control your thoughts. You're in charge. Nobody else can do it. You can do it. And so now when people start talking about their thoughts
and how they can't control them,
I'm like, whoa. That is not true. Let me show you every research I've ever read on this topic.
Okay, now we're moving on to another topic.
Okay, sorry.
I had to do that, like, sort of, but a lot kinder a couple times last night. I was like, that's a great point. He's like, let's keep talking. And I'm like, or we can talk about this.
I didn't say let's keep talking. I just had so much to say about it that she was just, and then I was like, oh, yeah, workshop. She's right. Let's go.
Workshop. One thing that I did to help divert my mom was to move the slide. If I had like the next PowerPoint slide and she was going on and on and on, I would just gently click the slide, and so there was a cue without saying anything. It was time to move on.
That is an amazing suggestion, and I tried it, and it didn't help at all.
No.
Oh no!
Really? People kept talking, especially Spencer, about what we did, and I'm like, oh look, there's something new on the screen, and I try and like look at the TV. And
well, part of that was because everyone was still sharing stories
about their past and how that one principle that we had just discussed applied to them.
Yeah. Everyone had to share their story at that point. And then I was like,
right.
And part of being family life educators is you can't just dismiss everyone's comments. You have to say, oh, that's such a good point. It relates to this, you know?
And that's what I was just going to say, because I did the slide thing as well. Like, I would move it thinking that, okay, you know, they'll see that I'm moving on and they'll stop talking, which worked maybe once or twice in all the comments. However, if they just kept going on, I would try and they would take a breath, which sometimes they just don't. But if they would take a breath, then I would like jump in and say, oh, those are some great thoughts. I mean, they just need validation, like what they're saying has value to it.
Yeah.
And so if you validate what they're saying and then take it from there and move on, that usually works. But there's times when then they jump in over the top of you and continue on, and you're just standing there going, okay, now what?
Yeah.
Which actually, it's really, I don't know, you noticed it. Cammie would almost dismiss everything everyone said and would just click, click, click. And I'm like, honey, no, that's a really good conversation. She didn't mean to do that. I had to almost like be like, no, she's not trying to be mean. What you said really applies to what we talked about 15 minutes ago.
I think it got better throughout the thing.
It did.
At the very beginning,
you have to tell them that it was okay. It was good. You have to at least acknowledge them.
He says I feel like a robot in front of people or when I'm talking to people because I get so nervous that I get very monotone and I am going to talk like this and then I'm going to talk very fast and people are like, okay, this isn't super entertaining.
I didn't hear anything. What did she say?
And he was like, okay. And I think I brought it back because someone halfway through told a story and I was like, you know, that brings up a great point that we're about to discuss. Look, it's right here. And I think that
you did a lot better about halfway through.
It transitioned back into, and then, but then they went back to their story again.
I think that Tammy and I are currently in the Teaching the Savior's Way Teachers Council training. Are you guys teachers at church?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're.
Are you in that class?
Yep, we do that. I love that class.
So, yeah, but one of the things that both Tammy and I talked about this week was the things that kind of meant the most to us was not focusing on so much of the material, but teaching the individual and not losing track of who you're teaching, and if there is a moment where that needs to go. I mean, it applies especially to church, but like if there's a conversation going, not to dismiss their comments in order to continue on with your material. It's really hard to do that because you know what you want to cover. It should lead to greater understanding and then connection and linking between the participants. So it's a hard thing to master, I think, is sitting back and letting people talk.
I totally agree that it's really super hard, especially when you know that like one of the points that you're going to be graded on is one of the things that you have like later in your lesson, and you know you need to get to it, and so trying to not dismiss people's comments, that can be difficult for me. It's not as hard with kids for some reason. I'm like, oh, thank you for sharing. I get that. But for adults, I'm just like, what did that have to do with anything? Okay. Thank you for telling us that your dog just died. And so that's a little bit harder for me, but especially when I'm like, oh, I've got to get to this point. Otherwise I'm going to lose points for this. Right. But I think when we actually have when we're not worrying about a grade for making sure that something is done, then I think it's going to be a little bit easier to handle.
It's funny you bring that up, Marnie, because I actually even said that last night. I said, to me, that's the most important thing. Is actually, I feel so lucky, and I feel sorry for you guys because Cammie and I were so opposite, but so centered. I know this sounds corny, but the only way to really say it is like Christ said that the Father and Him are one, and we're very much like that. But we're so different in the way that we teach and the way we do things. And so when I would really want to pound, like the hard part of it is what you were saying, Marnie, is really applicable in our case because we know a lot of the individuals that were there, and we know a lot of their deep-rooted issues. And actually, one of them is one of our moms. She has some really severe issues that need to be addressed, and we were able to do that last night, and we were able to really touch some important principles that she needed more than anyone. And actually, that was part of the reason why I would engage her conversation and say, that is such a good point, and really, because of that, you have to teach towards the audience. You have to teach to the people, and you have to make it personal.
And that's what I was just gonna say, was in our reading, and that was something else that that was brought to my attention when Marnie and I were talking about, teaching in our Savior's time, or in our Savior's way, was that that was brought up in our reading in class, and that we have to know those who we teach. Like, we have to know what is needed in our community, or no one's going to come to the workshop.
Yeah.
And so we need to, whenever we do workshops and future workshops for you guys, we need to focus and have an idea what is needed for people. But did your baby just wake up?
Yeah, she
did.
Just woke up.
That's why I disappeared for a minute.
Say hi, princess.
Are you shy?
Oh, she just.
Can you say hi?
Say hi. You blow kisses. Mwah.
She's got a squishy face.
You blow them kisses.
Oh.
No.
Hi.
Oh.
No, I just participate.
She's so cute.
All right. Well, we have to go to our study group, Tammy.
Yeah, we do. We have 400 together. It's fun.
Oh,
that's cool. That is cool. So you guys do have one another. That's really cool.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, we're all.
What you were going to say, though, about having each other there for the workshop, that's one thing that I wish that Marnie and I lived closer. And we're finding that we lead sister lives. I mean, it is just crazy how much alike we are and how much our lives are alike. That I wish we could have had the opportunity to teach, but
yeah,
together.
I feel really lucky. I
do too.
Yeah, man.
Because otherwise I would have been really, really dry and robot-y the entire time, and it wouldn't have been a good workshop, and I think Spencer would have stayed on the first principle the entire time.
True.
That would have been just great in his eyes, though, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
And in the participants' eyes. They would have enjoyed it.
It's nice that we balance each other out in that way. Yeah, and I wish everyone had that experience, to be able to teach with someone.
Yeah. There's, so I was looking at the case management thing and the things that we have to have done through this, and I think we covered everything because we talked about the concerns of the participants and issues that could arise, which we talked about all those issues. Let's see.
I think we're supposed to, sorry.
What?
I think
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think what we're supposed to do is write up a summary about the suggestions that we gave to each other.
Right.
Right.
You don't do the ones that you gave or that you received.
Right.
That you gave to someone else.
And then it says future directions to pursue with participants, which we talked about that kind of.
Yeah.
Let's see. And other resources that could be utilized, ways to be more effective, professional, and ethical dilemmas. So I think we talked about everything. And then it says the second thing was state what you need from those whom you are counseling with. Did we talk about our needs?
I think
so.
I think we're good.
I think we talked about the things that we need in the future.
Yeah.
Well, when's your next workshop?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Okay. Well, good luck with it. I think you guys will do great.
Thank you. I think so too.
Send us an email. Let us know how it went.
Yeah, we will. And I gotta say, like, talking with you guys really helps us personally. I know we don't get to help you, but you guys help us for sure.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that.
You do help us. And by the way, just so you know, because Marnie and I are both going out of town next week, and we're kind of working ahead. And I know we're supposed to submit like our summaries and our lit review to you guys to read. But since we wrote them separate, we just submitted them to each other so
That's
that
all right.
for feedback. And then we already turned our summaries in since ours were different from each other's, and then we gave each other feedback on each other's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you guys write up your summaries, just send them to us and we'll read them and
Okay.
whatever.
That's actually perfect. Don't want to sound rude, but it gives us less work, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I know. But we still did what we're supposed to, but we just, we were thinking of you guys.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Either way,
But
however it works.
Yeah. But the lit review we did together, and we forgot to give it to you.
Don't worry. We're not upset.
If you want to send it to us, we can look at it, but we understand if you
Yeah,
Yeah, we already submitted it.
That's totally,
Yeah. We just submitted it this morning. But anyway, that's what we did right before we met. So
you're totally fine. I would have done the same thing. And it really does. You have no idea how little time we actually had. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, we remember that last week before our workshop. So we knew that you guys were going to be crazy. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to